Greetings, adventure. Welcome to the D20 Academy podcast. I'm Shiloh, and today I'm joined by my good friend Brendan for episode 65, Player Character Death. Hey you guys, today Brendan is back. He joins me for, I think, the episode 2 weeks ago when we talked about building a campaign. And today we're going to be talking about player character death, how to deal with it as a player and as a GM. Of course, if you want to keep up to date with what's going on here, by the way, a lot of exciting things are going on here. Follow us on Instagram at D20 Academy. From there, you can get into our Discord, a lot of cool stuff happening there, and you can also check out our YouTube, which is just D20 Academy. Hey guys, guess what? I just launched D20Academy.com. If you go there now, you can get a free video called the Game Master Game Plan that runs through how to build your own campaign from scratch. And also, when you sign up there, you'll also gain access, if you want, to purchase my course called the Campaign Builder Blueprint Online course, which goes through the whole process of building a campaign. Brendan's gone through some of it as well. It's been a lot of work, but I'm really excited to finally launch that. And this Friday, we are dropping Session 0 of our new actual play series, One Piece, The Red-Eye Pirates, so also look out for that this Friday. Okay. Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you? Glad to be back.
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's good to have you back. We just checked the stats, actually, and the last episode me and Brendan recorded actually was pretty popular. So, people love you, man.
I bring a crowd.
All right, PC death. A very difficult topic to talk about.
I think it's a fun topic to talk about.
It is fun sometimes. It's definitely one of those things that, like, there's no, like, right answer on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know it's a kind of a common question. I know a lot of other influencers and stuff in the community have talked about this before. Of course, make sure to check out other people's opinions and stuff as well on this topic. But we're just going to today speak from our experience. We both have a lot of experience as GMing and also playing, kind of. I would say I have more GM experience, you have more player experience, but still we've both been in both roles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing when a player character dies. And, you know, it's a little hard also to talk about just because a lot of things depend on, like, the campaign you're in, like who the character was, how early in the campaign it happened, and all that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
What are kind of your, like, initial thoughts about player character death?
Well, I feel that character death should always be a impactful thing in the party.
Yes.
Because their friend just died. So I mean, as a DM, you should always use that as a way to move the plot forward, as like a leverage almost, you know?
Sure.
And of course, if it's like the player is sick of like their character, or like the player is like, I'm kind of done with this character's arc, or I feel like there's not much left of this character, of course the DM and the player should of course agree on if it's a planned death. Never just go ahead and kill your player without because you don't like the character or something like that, you know?
Right. Well, yeah. So we're also going to talk about this later on as well, but there's definitely a difference between intentionally killing a PC and accidentally killing a PC. If you are going to intentionally kill the PC, make sure the player is okay with it, because this can, like, totally ruin playgroups. Mm-hmm. If, like, a DM is pissed at, like, a min-maxer and so, like, kills their character intentionally or whatever.
And the min-maxer is just going to come back with even worse character.
Yeah, honestly. But also, like, that's not going to be fun for the player at all. And, okay, however, there is also a specific circumstance we're going to talk about today where the player intentionally killed their character and the GM did not know about it. Mm-hmm. So that's also another circumstance, which, of course, as the GM, it's their character, like, let them control it. If they want to do an epic send-off and stuff and you guys haven't, like, specifically talked about it or whatever, like, typically I feel like you're able to like kind of read the room and like understand like that's what's trying to happen, you know. But I agree. A player character death should be a very impactful thing. It should be epic, for sure. We're going to talk about that. And yeah, it should serve the plot. Once again, this is intentionally killing. We're going to talk about accidentally killing a PC. But I definitely agree with you there. What else would you say? I mean, you talked about if a player's like bored with their character or like they're ready to kind of they feel like their arc is finished or whatever. So can you kind of talk about your experience?
Well, I mean, instead of killing a character, maybe like because their arc is finished, why not just add more to their character, like in their backstory? You know, like you can always add more. Like as a DM, I love it when the characters are like add this whole another like aspect to the game. Like, oh man, this could be a whole another like huge thing that happens in the game, and you could just completely change the whole game just by changing a sentence or two in your backstory, you know?
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I'm not really down with like players being like, meh, like I'm bored of them, like I want to restart. Like obviously, once again, you don't want people playing characters they don't want to play anymore. Like that's not also cool to them. If they want to give their character like a send off or whatever, like, you know, work with them on that. But definitely like early on, like if we're talking in D&D 5th edition kind of circumstances, like definitely the first 5 levels, like you should have enough there in that character to be able to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You shouldn't be like, I'm done with my character after 4th level.
Yeah, if you feel like you have a player who's like that, who just likes the character creation process, so just wants to make new characters, like, once again, that's fine. You don't want to force someone to just play the same character for like the whole campaign or whatever. But I think it's important to encourage them to add depth to their characters and like find one that they really like and that they really want to build and play on. Just because I think it is awkward for the game and the pacing if like a lot of characters die and new people keep joining the party and stuff.
Yeah.
You know? We're going to talk about also later on when a character dies and then like rejoining them in. You know, integrating them in. We're going to talk about that later as well. But, yeah, I agree there. Now, one thing I will say, unless it fits the tone of your campaign, you do not want PC death to be routine. You don't want it to be common. And definitely you don't want PC resurrection to be routine.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, death loses its consequences. Like, that was a problem that I think we had in the first campaign that I ran.
Yeah, we were like, oh, the cleric will just bring me back.
Yeah. Now, you guys were at like a very high level where you guys started to die a lot. Now, at those kind of like level 15 to 20 in 5th edition, those levels, it's difficult to balance encounters. It's difficult to like, you know, for a character to die, actually. It's pretty hard for a character to die. And it's pretty easy to resurrect them, just with base 5th edition like rules. And so we found that during those like last 5 levels, I would say probably, of that campaign, you guys would not die like a lot, but I mean like every character died like 2 or 3 times, I think, in the main party. And they'd be resurrected. We had put on rules, we'd restricted resurrection stuff, so it was harder than normal with just base 5th edition stuff, but it was still kind of like, at least what it seemed to me like, that death didn't really mean anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Didn't carry consequences. It was meaningless, really.
Yeah, because everybody was like dying and then just getting resurrected. And also, it was really late in the campaign that you didn't want someone to die permanently.
And then 3rd level spell slot? 3rd or 4th level? What is it, a 3rd or 4th level spell slot?
Yeah, 3rd.
Which, I mean,
I'm
a higher level cleric or any main spellcasters can just throw away a 3rd level spell slot, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I've really mixed feelings about Revivify. Like, on one hand, I do think it should be 3rd level, on the other hand, I don't. And anyway, that's not the conversation we need to have right now, but yeah, you want PC death to have weight and you want PC resurrection to have weight,
Mm-hmm.
and you want death to stay as a consequence. Definitely. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and like especially if like let's say a player is like, I'm gonna go and out my character in this epic way, and then the cleric comes and just instantly resurrects them, and
Yeah,
their sacrifice
that's also a
didn't
little.
mean anything.
Yeah, that's a little bummer. Like, oh, cool sacrifice. Well, you're still okay. Yeah, that's kind of that would definitely be a weird circumstance, for sure. So, our experience with that first campaign. So I was the GM. You were a player in that one. Everyone died like 2 or 3 times. There was a particular party member who died. I think around like the 8th level area, 8th, 10th, 9th, 10th level area. They died and they weren't able to get resurrected. And then the person made a new character. Like, I feel like that kind of had weight, and like that was kind of the first character death, even maybe. Zalos.
Yeah, I think that was the first like actual death.
Yeah, and I feel like that had weight and stuff. And then like when we just got to the higher levels, people would die. Once again, it's very hard to balance the encounters at these higher levels. Really, really difficult with magic items and multi-classing, and the challenge rating system was already not the best. So that sometimes the enemies would be too strong and kill people too quickly or whatever it was. But then you guys would just kind of be brought back to life. So, yeah. I mean, once you get to 17th level, the cleric gets true resurrection.
Yeah.
And while it requires like 20,000 gold or something, like, also treasure and money in 5th edition is so weirdly unbalanced and outrageous. So that's not even that much of a consequence. And like in the story at that point in the campaign, the players are like gods.
Yeah.
So like they've like saved cities and stuff. So like I feel like people are like, yeah, we'll give you 20,000 gold, of course.
Start a GoFundMe.
So yeah. Kickstart to restart our friend's heart. Yeah, what can you say about making PC death epic or making it legendary, memorable?
I feel like I haven't actually had a PC death in any of my games that have been epic, but I don't really think that it should be on the players' terms, and it should be something that would be something that within their character would make sense for them to sacrifice themselves for it. Like if it's the emo rogue who when he gets like below half hit points he runs away or like goes hide somewhere, it wouldn't make sense for him to sacrifice himself for the party, you know. But like let's say,
well, unless they've gotten to that point in their character arc, in which case that's like the most satisfying character arc in the world.
I'm saying just like last encounter he ran away and hid, and then now this time he's, you know, like if it was like slowly building up, like they're lasting a little bit longer, their characters being a little more brave, like
they're bonding with the other party members in like, deeper ways.
It's all honestly, it all depends about the arc of the character.
100%. So, I would say our best example of an epic character death was in the Star Wars campaign that I'm running now. It's been going on a little bit over a year now, and this was maybe a little less than probably halfway, like 5 months or so maybe into the campaign, I'm thinking. No, probably like 6 months maybe. I don't know. But we had a player character who his really like big connection, like motivation was to help his brother who like had this awful medical challenge. And so you guys were like trying to find this like cure basically. For him and some of the other NPCs. And you guys got to the point where like the last cure was there, but the main villain of that arc had it in the last cure thing, and he was gonna drop it over like the lava, whatever. And you guys kill him, and so then he throws it off the edge into the lava, and this character tries to slide and like try to grab it, but he fails his roll, so he doesn't grab it. And then the player is like, okay, I want to jump off, grab it, and then throw it back up to my friend. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
What the heck? I did not expect him to sacrifice himself. But he did it. He rolled successfully. He threw himself off, grabbed the thing as it was falling, and threw it back up to his friends. And then fell epic Gandalf, down into the lava. And it was like a really epic moment, I felt.
Yeah. Very cinematic.
Yeah, wrapped up his character arc pretty nicely with, like, him helping his brothers and stuff. And that was, like, really epic and awesome. I feel like that's probably the best example of, like, a great player character death. The player did it on purpose. They were fine. They wanted that to happen. So it did not feel awkward or it didn't make anyone angry or anything.
Yeah, I felt like everyone was very, I don't want to say satisfied, like everyone was happy about it, but like everyone was like, that was pretty sick, like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was awesome. Everyone was like, ah! We were all like, mouths gaping, like, what the heck? That was crazy. That was definitely an awesome moment. Do you have any other examples you can kind of think of specifically?
Good, bad, or middle?
Anything on the scale. Good, bad, neutral.
Bad would be Colin, a player character. He was what were you guys, like level 2, level 3?
Yeah, low level.
Yeah, low level. And I was writing a module from, what was the book? Tales of Young Portal.
Young Portal.
The Glitterhane and the Stonetooth one. And at the very end, they are supposed to fight I think it's a young black dragon.
Yeah, I think so. Spoiler alert, yeah.
Oh.
No, it's fine. Nobody runs those modules.
But the player character was insisting on your character not to go down there, that it wasn't going to be a fight worth it, because your character was kind of like at the time very heroic, like I'm a hero type,
Yeah.
And so everyone charged down there, and he was in the back.
Because he's a wizard. So he's like super low health.
But Black Dragon's breath attack is a line.
Yeah.
So he shot at your character, it missed your character, missed another player's character, and it hit him way back, just barely within range. And of course, him being a wizard, he got one-shotted. I did not expect for that to happen, but I think that was a pretty bad example. But I feel like it definitely changed your character. Like
okay, yeah. So let's kind of talk about that. Okay, so basically, it was not a good death. It kind of took us all by surprise. It was definitely accidental. I wouldn't put all the pressure on you as the GM, Brendan. But I mean, it because you didn't know. Like you're like, okay, then this much damage, and then he goes, I'm dead. I think, and we're like, wait, do the math or whatever. He's like, yeah, I think I just died, one shot, and we're all like,
I felt so
oh,
bad.
crap. What was going through your mind as the GM?
Well, I didn't want to retcon it because I have at that point. I had retconned a lot before you guys' deaths before. I'd be like, okay, you can make the check to catch him. Like if a player falls or something.
Right.
But I didn't want to do that. So something that I did do was I gave the druid a flower that it healed. It did a healing, but I also said that it if you did more research on the flower, or if you did a check, you might be able to find more abilities on the flower. But the druid just went ahead and ate the flower to build his own health. But the flower would have brought Colin back, is what I planned for. But I mean, I gave him the opportunity to bring him back.
Yeah. The thing was, it was really early. Definitely, we're talking 5th edition, because I assume like 90% of the people listening to the podcast play 5th edition. A character death before level 5 is really rough, because people are still getting into their characters and stuff, and you kind of don't want that to happen. And what's hard is that the way 5th edition is, it's kind of weirdly unbalanced in the first few levels. Like first level, you're so squishy. It's so hard to balance encounters and stuff. Like so many people can be one-shotted at level 1 by accident, just because of the way like the dice roll.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the damage is like one, like the orcs whatever is like 1d10 damage, like you accidentally like you just roll a 10 like and then you just one shot the wizard by accident, like
Yeah.
it's pretty difficult. So one thing I would say if you're playing 5th edition, and building encounters for the first few levels, always err on the side of making them easy.
Mm-hmm.
Because definitely if you're someone who is not okay with fudging and stuff, like you don't want that to screw everything up. And we were playing on Roll20 where all the rolls are public.
Yeah, so,
So
there was no
you can't
fudging
fudge
it.
at all. So yeah. Yeah, I would agree that death wasn't like super epic and stuff. However, I feel like the way we recovered was pretty good. He came back with a really interesting, cooler character. I think the player was kind of fine with it. Didn't seem like he was really hurt or anything by his character accidentally dying, which good on him. But the way we recovered, I felt like was pretty strong. My character, who was the one who like insisted on going down there because it was the heroic thing to do, learned a lot about leadership and like being a hero and like being brave, but with also like being foolish essentially and headstrong. It really helped my character's arc and stuff, about being more mindful about those kinds of things, and so I feel like the recovery was actually pretty strong.
Yeah.
But
Definitely his new
Yeah.
character has a lot more going than the wizard.
yeah, his new character's super interesting for sure. So in a way it worked and stuff. But yeah, it was not epic. Like I talked about in that first campaign when we had you guys dying like 2 or 3 times. Like a lot of the time those were not epic deaths. It's just like, okay, I'm dead mid battle, whatever. You guys finished the fight. You recover
I got
the
a
body.
nat 1
you
on
go
my death
resurrect
save.
it. Yeah. Oh, whoops. So, yeah. I would say so far in the Star Wars campaign that we're playing, like those have been like pretty epic deaths.
Mm-hmm.
There was that one character and then like a couple NPCs who have died.
Yeah.
Primary NPCs. Like I feel like those have been pretty memorable and stuff.
Yes.
Which I think is definitely important. You want the player to feel satisfied, because depending on how long, maybe they've played with them for a couple months, but maybe they played with this character for like a year or whatever. You want them to be satisfied with their send-off and stuff. And of course, yeah, like Brandon was saying earlier, and then the cleric just goes over and resurrects them. As a GM, make sure that it's like final,
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, this guy who sacrificed himself by grabbing the cure, and then he fell 100 feet into like lava, so
There was no
burned
way
up.
any of us.
And also, yeah, resurrection is also way harder in Star Wars than.
I remember my first reaction, like when that happened, I was like, "How are we gonna go save him?"
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, hey, Darth Maul came back. Anakin, he fell into lava.
I mean,
and he became Darth Vader, who was like the baddest.
He laid next to
what I mean?
lava. Really?
Yeah, I guess so. But we always like make jokes about like he's gonna come back like Anakin all burned up, with like Darth Maul's like robotic legs from the Clone Wars. All right, let's talk about accidental PC death. Brendan, what can you say about this? This is a very difficult thing.
Yeah, when you accidentally kill a PC, it's hard because you didn't want to kill them. I mean, it's kind of, it's not fully your fault, but I mean, it is kind of your fault. Just as the GM, you're kind of like in control of everything. You're essentially the god of the world. But I mean, the player, of course, might have done something stupid, like they might have jumped into the boiling water of the dragon's den or whatever. I don't know.
Sure.
But
yeah.
Usually it's something that you might have like overestimated the party for. Like you think that you can do something, but they can't quite take on that whole challenge, that whole encounter. In which, when I see that going on, I immediately start nerfing the encounter as fast as I can every round to make sure that no one dies or anything. But it's definitely hard when a player dies and they didn't want to die and they had a lot going for their character. But always have a way for them to come back. Like I said with the flower.
Yes. Yeah.
Like give the party an option to bring them back.
Make them work for it, obviously.
Yes.
But I so what you were saying kind of about fudging, kind of changing stats mid-encounter to avoid accidental PC death if you're realizing mid-encounter, like, oh crap, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So obviously your opinions on like fudging and stuff like that are your own. I know a lot of people have different opinions on that. Some people are like really vehemently like, no fudging, let the dice do what they're gonna do and like accept the consequences. That's fine. Some people are like, yeah, I'll fudge to benefit the story or whatever. That's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion on this. But it's definitely hard for people, because like me, like I don't like to fudge, or I assume you agree, Brendan, or like change things.
Yeah,
like,
I don't
like if I don't have to.
I don't like to fudge.
Yeah, I think if it ever serves the story and makes for a really awesome moment or whatever, I will definitely be more lenient to like fudge the dice or whatever a little more, for sure. And definitely with a consequence as big as an accidental PC death. But if you're not someone who's into that, you can also introduce things in a natural way, such as an enemy retreat or allies showing up at a vital moment, as long as it doesn't feel super Deus Ex Machina, to help, you know, kind of balance that out or whatever. If you feel like an accidental PC death is approaching,
yeah,
and you're not someone to fudge or like change stats mid-encounter or whatever it is, that's definitely something to do, and I would definitely recommend it if you see that on the horizon. Once again, if it serves your campaign and the way that you play. If you're pretty upfront with your party, hey, this is going to be a gritty campaign, character death is going to be very prevalent, and you have to be very, you know, careful with your resources and how you guys approach things and stuff, then I would say, like, yeah, like, let it play out if that's what you guys have, the tone and mood that you guys have set up for your campaign. I go through this a lot in the first unit of my online course. D20Academy.com. A lot about like making sure everyone understands like the tone and stuff of your campaign, so that things like accidental PC death are not super shocking.
Yeah.
Can you talk more about a way for the party to undo the death?
Like what if they find a magic item, but it's inscribed with ancient elven glyphs on it, and the party has to go take this item, this magic item they found, and take it to some wizard somewhere or something, and the wizard can figure out what the item is, and then like definitely make them work for it. But I mean, I wouldn't want to have it like or it takes too long of the story, because I mean, either your player is going to be sitting out, which isn't fun, or they're going to be playing a different character. So I mean, I'd imagine like have it be like one, like the next session or like the next two sessions. You know, nothing, no longer than that.
Definitely, 100%. Yeah, obviously make it cost something and stuff. Make it the resurrection like mean something.
But then of course you get to spells where you can use like the Matthew Mercer rule, where you make them do checks.
Yeah.
And stuff, which I mean at higher levels is still a little too lenient, if you will.
Yeah. If you're playing 5th edition and you want to add more weight to resurrection stuff, look up Matt Mercer's resurrection rules, something like that. You'll find it. He has his own little rule set on resurrecting character, making it harder and also making it more roleplay heavy and meaningful to the characters. It's not just a roll, or it's not just a check or just like a spell. It also like requires PCs to like provide something to the ritual that's meaningful to their characters and to the story.
Yeah. I guess sacrifice wouldn't be the right word.
Yeah, I really like that. So, one way that I kind of provided a resurrection thing, so in the Star Wars campaign, you guys encountered this, basically like a main villain, and I accidentally rolled really good, and he killed one of the PCs. You guys grabbed his body and then escaped. Sorry?
I was really confused what you were talking about for a second, but then now I just caught on what you were talking about.
Yeah, actually, funnily enough, it's the same player who sacrifices his first character. And then that was like the end of the session. The next session, about the first hour of it, he was out of it because his character died. And you guys were still having to escape from all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then another Force user character was able to resurrect him by sacrificing his own life essence, which I felt like, okay, you can give me your opinion on this, Brendan, but like I felt like that felt like natural and fine. It didn't feel too like cheat-y, you know? This NPC was, we knew he was Force sensitive. The player character who died, we've also known to be semi-Force sensitive or something. And also, you guys had earlier on in the campaign collected these powerful crystals. From this like Force heavy planet, like the same crystals they used to like make lightsabers. And this NPC used those as a focus. And you guys have all seen Star Wars 9, which, spoiler alert, a Force user character sacrifices his own life essence to revive another Force user character. So you guys knew that already makes sense in the Star Wars universe. So I felt like it kind of worked, and it was natural and fine.
I agree.
What do you think?
I remember I was just like, personally, just because of the another NPC died just before that, the same session, and I remember I was just my character was a little like caught up in his death to I kind of didn't even realize that the actual PC died. I was too worried about the NPC. So it wasn't about like it was like 3 sessions later when I realized what actually happened. I was like, hey, where's this NPC at? And you guys were like, he sacrificed himself. I'm like, oh. I remember that now.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Yeah. So that was an example of like, I felt like a pretty natural way that made sense. It didn't feel like really cheat. That was like, all of a sudden, I have this power to resurrect him.
Yeah, and we had to use the crystals and...
Yeah, the crystals shattered, so you guys can't use them anymore.
Yeah.
And also, that NPC, who was like really useful, because he was like a ninja, basically, and he was like being able to sneak everywhere,
Force ninja.
Is now gone. So he's a Force ninja, exactly. So I felt like the cost felt pretty natural and like nice enough to resurrect the PC. Yeah, boy, there's Okay, let's get into the hardest part that we have both screwed up many times as GMs before. Introducing the new PC. So a PC dies, you can't do anything about it, it's permanent. Now the player rolls up a new character. But the rest of the party is already established as best friends and stuff. How do you introduce a new character?
Always, from my experience, always provide a common goal. Like in my campaign, when the druid died, they came back with a warlock character, and I didn't really know how I was going to implement the character, but I remember they had a contract with a previous NPC, so I just threw them into the new character into the contract, saying like, you need to work with these people to get this mission done, and then from there they kind of built a sense of trust with each other and kind of figured out what the big ending is, and they need to figure out how to defeat this guy together, you know?
Yeah.
But
I think it was pretty clean, because we already had a quest that we had to do, but then as a part of the quest, the guy who gave it to us was like these people are gonna help you. It was one NPC and the new PC, and it felt pretty natural. Like, okay, well we're working with you to do this quest, and then after the quest was over, we fulfilled the contract, but like we still stayed with the PC because like we had trusted each other. We've become, like we fought together and stuff during that quest. So he was kind of already integrated into the party pretty well. And also, the players will suspend, everyone at the table will provide some level of suspension of disbelief.
Hopefully.
Like, that may be a little unrealistic of why the person's now suddenly, like, with the group. You know what I mean? Or, like, why we trust them really quickly. Because they're, the players just build a new character. Like, everyone understands that. So, like, there is that level, that is helpful.
go through 4 different player characters because the party doesn't like the first 4 guys.
Yeah. Can you talk about the newest player character that was introduced?
I feel like that was not a very clean one. Because the character, their kind of whole thing was they were trying to assassinate his previous character who just died. So like the character just died, the player character just died, and then their new character came in, and their thing was like, oh, I was supposed to kill the last guy. And he told me that he wanted to speak with your character. And I'm like, okay. And he ended up just poisoning you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is going to go off without a hitch. And now, I mean, it does create a very good dynamic because, of course, you guys suspended a little bit of disbelief to let this guy be in. I mean, I know your characters would obviously have killed someone who tried to poison you, but you guys suspended a little bit of disbelief, you know. And it honestly came up with a very good dynamic between your character and his character because it's like this sense of distrust.
Yeah. It's Gabe, by the way, the other co-host on the podcast usually. So his first character, who played with us from the beginning, my character and his character became like really good friends. They had a really good like relationship. They were like best friends on the battlefield and stuff. It was like a very beautiful relationship, romance. His character dies. It obviously affects my character very deeply because they were best friends. This new guy comes in who is an a-hole and is trying to poison me and stuff. And while we all tried to react somewhat realistically to this guy, and like we're all trying to like kind of, you know, get him to kind of trust him so that we can integrate him into the story, because, you know, it's Gabe's new character. Like, he's gonna be a part of the party, you know what I mean? Yeah. We also all tried to also have like realistic reactions and not trusting him and stuff. And me and Gabe obviously have been friends for a long time. We've been playing this game for a really long time. So, like, I fully trust him that we'll be able to, like, create a really good dynamic between these our two characters and stuff. Because right now, like, they do not like each other and don't trust each other. But I would agree with you, Brennan, that it was very clunky getting him into the party and integrating him into the story.
I was typing, I was on Discord, I was messaging him, telling him why he was valuable to the party with information about the next part of the plot, and then realized you guys didn't want to do that next arc, so I had to go and take all that and go and have him give the information about a different arc.
Yeah, so can I talk about what you just said there really quickly?
Yeah.
And why that's important?
Oh, you
about giving him information and stuff.
Did you want to talk about it, or do you want me to do?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it was just like, it made sense for him to have this information because his character just came from a far off lands, from a crime family, you know, that their kind of mission is to that falls in line with the party's mission also. So it makes sense for him to have this information. That's the reason why he came to this land. So when he met up with this group, he had the information, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's crucial for implementing like a shady character, because they have the information, and you can't kill them, you can't get rid of them because they have the information, even though you want to. And then that from there you'll be able to build up that trust with the characters.
Yeah. So Brennan is highlighting something really important, which is when you integrate a new PC, you can't have them pop out of a bush, look, and then like describe themselves, and they're like, wow, that's a really badass character, because everyone wants to make a badass character. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, I'm gonna join you, and everyone's like, okay. Like, it's a little weird. To integrate semi-naturally, there is always going to be some kind of clunkiness, but make them valuable to the party. So, with that other character you talked about, he had a common goal with us. Mm-hmm. He was to accompany us on this quest that we were contracted to do, right?
Yeah.
So it made sense naturally for us to partner with him. This new character, after some retconning, ended up having some information that we vitally needed to continue our current quest, even though this character was a very shady character who tried to poison me and stuff. We had to trust him and follow him because he had what we needed, and so we needed him on the next part of our quest. And so even though we still don't trust him and stuff, during this next leg of the quest that he's taking the lead on because he has the information that we need, we can then become to trust each other and slowly integrate him into the party in a natural way. But to just have someone pop up like, I'm gonna be on your team now. Like, you go to a tavern and someone's like, you look like adventurers, can I join you? It's like, okay, sure. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Giving them something like that, I think, is very important.
Yeah.
To make the integration natural. And players, if you're listening, try to stay away from characters who, like, whose goal is to, like, kill the new PCs or, like, is naturally, like, distrusting of them, or, like, someone who's really distrustful and, like, shady. Because it will be harder for the other player characters to roleplay, like, a natural reaction from their characters and integrate you into the party. If, like, they're like, well, but this guy's, like, really shady, and, like, our characters realistically would, like, be really distrustful of him and stuff. Yeah. So, if you do want to make more of that kind of character, which is totally fine, just be aware of that, I would say. Because you don't want to force it onto the other players in the group to, like, suspend some disbelief and, like, act a little out of character just to integrate you in.
Yeah.
Even if it's not, like, in line with their characters and their personalities and stuff. One example I want to bring up. So, there was a point in our first campaign. It was kind of building up, and it seemed like your character was going to die. And so you had started working on another character that you were going to introduce once your character died. That never happened, and this character never entered into the campaign. But this character had a really, really interesting concept. His family, or people he cared about, had been killed in the fallout of one of the party's escapades earlier on in the campaign, during one of their big epic battles or whatever.
Yeah. And
so he sought revenge on the party, you know? Wanted to make them pay for what they did to his player. It's very similar to, like, Civil War, Captain America Civil War, where, like, people have died in the fallout of their actions. You know what I mean? That kind of deal. And while this is an extremely interesting character concept and stuff, looking back on it, I think that would have been very difficult to integrate.
Yeah.
Because as compelling and interesting as it is that this new character comes, confronts them, and they're able to kind of convince him that they're on the right side or whatever, and they apologize and they make up, and then he joins their party, now following them and believing in what they believe. As cool and interesting as that is, this is an improvisational storytelling experience. You can't script this, so it's so difficult to make that happen naturally.
Yeah.
So that would have just ended up being pretty clunky and uncomfortable, I feel like.
One day I would like to play that character, but I think it was a very cool idea. But I mean, definitely not
super cool idea.
Not that integration of the party, though. We had to start off as, like, level 1 or whatever starting level, you know?
Yeah. It's definitely a difficult thing. But he also was, beside that motivation, he also just was a really interesting character.
Yeah.
That I hope you can play someone like him again. But yeah, I think that's pretty important. Yeah. Sorry, I kind of have the sniffles. So. Anything else you want to kind of say about player character death, resurrection, integrating a new PC, stuff like that?
Really just, make it natural. As a player, don't make it hard for your DM or fellow players to accept you into the group without having to be like, oh, I'm blind now to the fact that you just tried to stab a knife in my back.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But, it's always fun. One of my favorite things is the character creation part, but definitely playing out the character is very satisfying, and achieving their arcs is very satisfying. So, never really, like, plan for your character to die, but it's always like I feel like a death is always a very good, I don't want to say ending for a character, but, like, like if they're sacrificing themselves for something that they would truly believe in, that they would personally sacrifice themselves for, and then that can always impact the party very positively, just because it's like, wow, they just died for this thing that was incredibly important to not just us but also to them, and that really just sets us into this whole motion of this arc, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Also, don't be afraid of alternatives to death.
Yes.
A character retirement, or a character wants to take a break for some reason. Maybe the character got married or whatever. In that way, you can always bring the character back in later on if you want to. It doesn't feel as like weird, stunted, and awkward as like a player character death. You don't have to like try to engineer that in the encounter, you know what I mean? So also consider that.
Yeah.
One of the greatest moments in Critical Role history, like everyone will say this is a spoiler for the first campaign. I think around like Sorry?
I said brace yourselves.
Yeah. This is a spoiler. I think around like episode 77, something like that, out of like 115. Basically the best character, in my opinion. No, one of the best characters in the group. This stuff has built up or whatever, and this thing explodes, and he basically leaves the group. He takes a break. And it's like one of the greatest moments. They were crying, I was crying, it was awesome. And then the character played another character for quite a while, before eventually that first character came back again. And also that other character that he played for a little while, his arc kind of completed, and it was nice. He naturally left the party in a very satisfying way, and then the other character came back. And it was really great. And it felt really natural. It felt satisfying, the whole experience. And so don't be afraid of just trying to like kill your character, making it like them sacrifice in a crazy way. There are other ways that you can do to, if you want to play a new character or whatever, beside death. So also keep that in mind. Do you want to say anything about that?
I've kind of thought about exactly that exact same thing with my character in Star Wars, just because, I mean, kind of his whole arc is coming to an end, but definitely don't want to kill him, because part of his whole arc is this, he's after his girlfriend, but I feel like it's hard to be a player and play the different character while knowing your character is still like out there in the world. I mean, I don't know if you can agree with that or not. I just like, I don't know, like like if I were playing remember back in the Machman Star one, the Second Dawn.
Yeah.
I just feel like it wouldn't have made sense really for Landak in specific to take a break, and then Busiel's introduced, which was the next character, because Landak died for a little while, and then I played a ranger for a little while. But definitely just I feel I would have felt weird knowing that my other character was out there in the world, you know?
Yeah, I never really thought of that. Yeah, so yeah, make sure you're okay with it, like, as a player. Another thing I want to talk about that you just kind of brought up a little bit. What do you think you should do as a GM if it seems like a player is kind of trying to kill themselves, you know, in that sense, sacrifice or whatever, and you do not like it? For example, literally a couple sessions ago, you guys had a big encounter with your character specifically, his main rival, through like the whole story.
Yeah.
It was really epic and stuff, and it got to a point where you guys were low, but you were just on his tail, and you and one of the other PCs kind of had a decision, like, do we leave? Do we cut our losses, leave, escape with some of the other NPCs and stuff, and not chase after him, but probably survive and help the NPC survive? Or do we continue, maybe die in the process, go after this guy? And it terrified me. Because, as a GM, during those moments, because I did not want you guys to continue. And I also didn't want to jeopardize. It seemed like at least one of you was going to sacrifice himself and, like, die, probably. You or the other PC.
Yeah.
And I did not want that. Because I love both your characters. And also, as the GM, I have built future arcs and stuff around your characters and their arcs. You know what I mean?
and then just to throw that away. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, always obviously as a GM, be able to be ready to throw stuff away, because PCs will never make decisions that you expect.
This might be a little taboo, but
yeah,
I didn't want my character to do what he was about to do, and I didn't want him to do what John told me what he was about to do. So I told, what the other character was gonna do, because we were both gonna storm in there and try to fight him. Of course, we both would have died. So I DM'd John through Discord, and I told him to pick my character up and take him back to the dropship, because in my character's mind, he would have rather died, because he jeopardized this. He jeopardized his girlfriend's life doing this, so he would have rather died than and kept her safe than continue on and find her. You know, so in his mind, he would have just kept on going, even though he was extremely low on health and everything.
Yeah, and as you can see, I'm blessed with an amazing group of players who all are totally fine with serving the story and, doing things to further the story and making it satisfying than whatever, which thankfully I'm really thankful about. But that was definitely a scary moment for me, and I tried my best to kind of make it clear to them, like, this is going to kill you. Yeah. There are people also who are depending on you right now that you need to help escape as well. And I tried to make that as clear as I could without being like, you have to do this. You're like trying to force him down, because I don't want to do that, obviously.
I was definitely getting those signals. That's why I did what I did.
Yeah, so it's rough. It's super rough to be in that position as a GM. I do take some of the blame that I put your characters in that position where you guys felt like, definitely you were like, my character would in this instance do this.
Mm-hmm.
And probably die in the process. And that was kind of my fault to put your character even in that position, because I don't think this was an appropriate time for that character to die.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Anyway, it's something difficult as a GM. Do your best to kind of stress it, but don't ever force your characters to do anything. Don't ever take control of the character or whatever. If a player like really wants to sacrifice himself or whatever, like, let them do it and then help them out, make it awesome. But yeah, that was definitely it was definitely scary for me.
Yeah.
That was only a scary moment for me as a GM, because I definitely did not want to lose you guys. Also, you guys have like passed a little bit the halfway point in the campaign, so it's definitely hard to introduce a new character like over halfway through.
Yeah.
You know, that's rough.
Absolutely, yeah. Which it might have scared you a little more, because like I think it was like the same week just before I sent you like that really fleshed out backstory about his girlfriend, and and you were like, oh wow, this is such a cool character. I was like, yeah, if Riley dies, I'm gonna play her. Like I said as a joke, but then probably thinking about it now, you probably thought I was really scared at the moment.
Yeah, so by the way, so Brendan, by the way, I'm going to brag about you a little bit, is an amazing player. Every week he sends me a new document that fleshes out his character even more. First, obviously, he made his backstory, and then he sent me, like, a thing about, like, all the bounties that are on his head, and then, like, the stuff, the backstory of an integral NPC in his character's backstory in life, which is his girlfriend, and, like, he always creates new documents and stuff for me. To further flesh out his character, which is also another reason why I didn't really want him to die, because he was such a fleshed out character. But he wrote this backstory for his girlfriend to help him his character understand his motivation a little more, and also to help me if I ever have to control that NPC. But it was so good. It was such a good backstory that he was like, bro, if my character dies, I think I'm just going to play as her. And I'm kind of like, nah, I wouldn't blame you. It's a good character. She's really cool.
I don't know how we'd integrate her into the plot, but...
yeah, she's like, oh, she's so cool. I can't wait for her to get into the campaign and stuff. But, whether as an NPC or a PC, you know?
We'll find out. Maybe JMC dies and John will just play her.
Yeah, so, anyway, that's player character death, guys. It's rough. I don't even know if we gave any answers. Maybe we just gave more questions today. Yeah, it's a hard thing, you know.
There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing. Obviously, I would recommend hearing other people's opinions on it. Definitely other influencers and stuff and what they have to say.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of our 2 cents about kind of what we believe and kind of what we've done with it. And we've definitely failed a lot. We've grown a lot, and we're still growing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
This is something that's very difficult to, like, perfect. Because it's, like, a rare thing, and so, you know. Anyway, Is there any last words?
Not really. I mean, I guess our kind of last words were just kind of like, to give remember just to give a common goal if you're a DM and integrating a new player.
Yeah.
My opinion is try your best not to kill them. But I mean, at the end of the day, the dice does what the dice does.
Yep.
But don't ever beat yourself up too hard, or if you're a player and you did something stupid, don't beat yourself up too hard, because you get a chance to play this whole new amazing character in this world and flesh out a totally different personality, you know?
Yeah, and that's a lot of fun.
It's not the end of the world.
No, not at all.
The BBG hasn't won.
Yeah. One thing I will say, our gaming group I feel like is very focused on like story and stuff, and I don't think anyone in our gaming group would get really like hung up or like destroyed if like their character accidentally died or anything, which I think I'm really thankful about. But I know definitely it's very common in other groups to, obviously people get really attached to their characters, and like if they die unintentionally or whatever, like it can really hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff. So this is a very touchy subject, and it's something you definitely want to be careful about, both as a player and a GM. As a GM, try not to build circumstances where that can happen accidentally. As a player, don't be unfair to your GM and put your character in circumstances where that can accidentally happen and put that pressure on them.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. I guess that's it. Thank you so much for listening
Thanks for
to this
having
week's
me.
episode.
Taking my
thank you.
My 2 cents.
It's definitely nice to have another person with like a lot of GMing experience. There's definitely more things that we want to talk about as well in the future. But I believe next week's episode will be the Druid class rebuild. We're a little behind on those, so me and Gabe will get on that hopefully next week. Of course, check out D20Academy.com to get access to that free video that will help you build your own campaign. And if you're interested, also check out that Campaign Builder Blueprint course. It takes you through the entire process of building a campaign, even if you're a starting out GM, whatever it is. Any system you're playing, D&D, Pathfinder, whatever it is, also works for that. I'm really excited to be releasing this to you guys. I've been working on it for like months and months and months. So yeah, definitely go check that out if you haven't already. But until
Listen
next
to
time.
the One Piece episodes. By far,
Yes.
The start of those episodes, the start of that campaign is one of the best I've had. So it's gonna be good, I promise you.
Yeah, it's real fun. So the actual play series, it's based on the anime One Piece. Brendan's running it. It's our gaming group, actually, our regular gaming group that plays. And that is a lot of fun. We've already recorded a couple of the episodes, and yeah, it's really fun. So definitely go check that out when that drops. You can find the trailer on our YouTube right now, D20 Academy. But yeah, I guess that's it.
All right, bye guys.